having even more fun in this draft. Take note, ladies and gentlemen, that is a Quadra captain lineup with a Baron. Not something we have ever seen in the preseason thus far.
Not at all. TSM obviously on the top there with that quad captain build. And then Tribe on the other side. Still a very strong draft for Tribe as well, having the Celeste and the Samuel Vox Rona Lance. But where do we even start with this one?
Yeah, this is groundbreaking. Has TSM discovered a new meta? Should be very interesting to see how it plays out. Baron in the mix as well. We saw Baron last game. Was it too successful? I do have confidence that TSM can execute it a little bit better, though.
I'm also looking forward to seeing where all these different captains are going to end up, who's going to actually play captain for this one. But to help us try and make sense of this draft a little more, we've got Humanist on the line with us, getting ready to cast this game. Humanist, how excited are you for this matchup?
I gotta tell you, Bacon, we're reaching dangerous levels of hype over here. I actually had to slow down on the coffee intake, but this is actually just a beautiful matchup. TSM versus Tribe. This is what it's all about. We've got the two top dogs. I mean, excluding Munchables power rankings. Forgive me for that, Munch. But yeah, these teams are absolutely nuts. If I want to look more at Tribe, because I think this is the team that's, even though they're at the top, is slightly underperformed for me. But why are they so special? Because there's an all-star in every position, an established pro here. Specifically looking at I Love Joseph, what can this guy not do? You got some players that are great in 1v1, some are great team fighters, some can go utility. Joseph seems to be able to do every one of those categories incredibly well.
Absolutely. Taking a look on the flip side of things, though, my boy Kaz has looked so good for the side of TSM. Definitely working on expanding those hero pools. We're definitely going to be able to see expanded a little bit more here today. He has been causing havoc in the jungle. I am sure that he is going to be looking to do that once more against Tribe here today.
Yeah, and again, the questions abound of who he's going to be playing with this roster that they drafted. You know, we've seen Tony in the jungle. We've seen some of like those more unconventional picks, but it's wide open with this roster. I mean, I think we can guess as to where they're going to go, especially you can probably guess as to which hero he's going to play, but it is going to be a treat either way. I cannot wait to get into this one, but before we do that, Humanist, I mean, we still got you here. What are you expecting to see out of these compositions?
I expect to see Gauntlet, then bada boom, and people just explode. I want to see people run at each other. I don't want 2 kills per minute. I want 3 kills per minute. And honestly, I'm not a biased caster. I'd like to see this TSM comp win. I don't know.
Well, if we go off of history of recent memory, there's a good chance TSM might take the victory. They have a lot of these wins against Tribe. There's a couple matches that aren't shown here when this exact roster was just performing under a different name in some of these community events. They were able to pick up the victories in all of those as well. So Tribe, they're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder. We'll see if that comes through as we get into our hype game of the week with Humanist and Scoundrel.
That's right, buddy. We are into the game right now. TSM versus Tribe. Players are out onto the rise. We've got a 2-2-1 coming out of TSM with Tony down in the bottom to start things off. I'm joined by Scoundrel. Are you as excited as I am, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a pretty weird draft coming out from TSM. I was hoping for something maybe a little bit more competitive. I think obviously TSM have a plan here, but regardless, I was kind of hoping for maybe a normal draft to really test the limits of these two teams.
What's normal about this?
Lots of things, Humanist. Lots of things. One of them being look, 5 captain team compositions can definitely work. CP Lyra is a very, very powerful pick. There are a lot of people have been one-tricking to hide Vainglorious because she is quite powerful in that respect. There is also like a full protect the Baron thing going on here. You've got Kaz, who if you can get to late game on this Baron, who just recently got some buffs over the last couple of updates. Lots of ways to basically play an entire composition around Baron here, so maybe this is a genuine tactic coming out from TSM. I probably is a little bit harsh.
That's how I'm going to approach it right now. A stun comes out onto Joseph. Joseph in the Drifting Dark, but he does have reinforcements kind of collapsing down through the jungle. Kind of a 4v2 situation as Hammy knocked up against the wall. TiVo taking a lot of damage. School potentially will have the kill, but drops back for the sure thing. Hammy's going to get rounded up, and that'll be a first blood going over to Tribe. Promised, and I told you.
Yeah, and actually, if you can see, very little can be responded to at this stage in the game from TSM, so it's some nice early rotations, and they're going to get a little bit of jungle stealing away from their top side of the map as well. So this is a really, really good early rotation coming out from Tribe, because at this point in the game, you're very unlikely to get punished for committing that many members to a singular area of the map. Because most of the jungle had already been cleared on first rotation. There's no way that you're going to take a turret down before 4 minutes easily, so yeah, I like that a lot. I'm assuming that we're going full protect the Baron here, if that's what we're looking at, like a hyper carry composition, a little bit akin to like if you play League of Legends, Cogmore. I don't know what it is in Dota 2 terms, Humanist, but you get a lot of that in sort of traditional MOBAs in 5v5. You kind of play around a singular hyper carry and build the entire team to protect them. Maybe that's what we're seeing here from TSM.
Yeah, I think we'll probably see something like that. A lot of utility coming out, but based off of the builds, like if we get a couple Storm Crowns coming out here, it doesn't even matter. Even if it's on proc hits, they're still capable of doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, no, and obviously there's great objective control with Storm Crowns as well. You've got great neutral objective control. You can clear jungles. You can invade the enemy jungle and take away camps really nicely, as well as having a little bit of extra sort of boost in terms of your turret taking capabilities. So yeah, I think if we get that many Storm Crowns, for sure, we're going to see one on TiVo, I assume, absolutely. I'm assuming Shaded Talent is going to go like a CP Lyra hybrid potentially, and then we might see Hammy and Daniel go more traditional build paths. But yeah, I think this is a really interesting composition coming out from TSM. But we need to look at over the board of Tribe. Tribe have just got a whole bunch of power picks here, Humanist.
Yeah, power picks across the board. Talked about Celeste and Samuel in the last game. Rona's been rounding up kind of that nice filler tank that can also get to the back line and also force people to scatter kind of carry. And Vox, I mean, is Vox just always the best?
Yeah, Vox is just he's because of his kit, it's very difficult to not make Vox work, right? He's just got such a good kit for a ranged carry, and he always will do unless he ever gets changed.
Yeah, School taken down there. We can get back to the Vox kit here in a second. It looks like maybe a little more aggression coming out. Gabe Vizzle absorbing that damage as they go ahead and get back there. But, I mean, yeah, like you said, Vox, he's just traditionally always good no matter what changes happen to him. People play him maybe a little bit differently. But I do kind of love that stability in the hero. You know, it's maybe it can get kind of stale if you always see like Poison Shiv into Breaking Point or something, but just knowing that if you get there, you can get things done is pretty nice.
Yeah, he's just like you said, he's a very staple, and do you know what I actually like across metas in MOBAs? I do like the fact that there's some heroes and some champions, depending on what MOBA you play, that will always remain good. Because I think if things change up too much, it gets confusing from update to update who the hell's good to play. You need people that are always going to remain good in most situations. Rona is going to remain good in most situations. Vox will always remain good in most situations. And, you know, they're very solid side laners as well, Humanists, because both Rona and Vox have few bad matchups. Both of them are very difficult to counter, and the counters are very specific, and those counters often have really bad matchup against a lot of other meta heroes as well. So, you know, they're just good side laners if you're worried about getting countered, because they have very few true counters.
So I'm really curious to see how this is going to play out. Now, Daniel taking a lot of damage down in bot lane. He'll be okay. But TSM look to have 3 weapon with just TiVo going a little bit more of the utility-based build. Has the Storm Crown, will have that kind of damage there. But this is very unique what's coming out.
If we look towards what TSM's win conditions probably are here, because of the kits of Tony, because of the kits of Arden, they are naturally going to lend themselves to always having something to help this Baron out. But they're looking to maybe be a bit more cohesive in terms of what they provide in terms of overall damage. And you can see Cos already with just that ultimate and the tension bow looking to push down onto this first turret of the game. Shouldn't get it on this push, but maybe on the next.
Yeah, they almost had that. And there's pressure coming out from Tribe down in this bottom lane right now as Daniel and Shaded Talent pinned against their own turret as TiVo holds down mid, trying to keep Old School from getting as much farm and happiness as he'd like there in that mid lane. So this is just a matter of who's going to break first. There's pressure everywhere in this map.
Lyra should be able to clear the waves easily enough with Daniel, and he taunts them into the turret. Oh, Max Green has to be forced to run away there, and it is going to be that first turret in the top lane going over to TSM. That was just one more minion wave with a single hit from Baron, and they've done a really nice job. And actually with less pressure on the top side now as well, because they're going to rotate down. That was only 2 members committed to the top rather than 3 members committed from Tribe to that bot side.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting, but you had a 2-man defense up against the 1-man defense, and we talked about the Vox. Like, he's a staple, he's a great hero, time and time again, but you got to get to those power spikes, and Poison Ship's just not going to cut it up against that tension bow and then having 2 up against 1.
So let's have a look towards, I think it's always nice to sort of reel this back to what actual win conditions are for teams, right? When you see a composition, it's all very well saying like, it's a great composition, but it's nice to like reel it back to what the win conditions are of each specific roster. And if you look at TSM, obviously when you run with a weapon power Baron, you're looking to get weapon power Baron to 3 to 4 items plus. That's going to give you great team fight presence. And the rest of it is going to be looking to play around him. Like we said, Lyra shaded going just traditional support. So he's going the traditional captain build. It looks like you're seeing Hammy and Daniel go more kind of off-tanky. I would describe this. I don't think they're going to commit to full weapon power build paths, but they're probably going to go more off-tanky and then build in towards more support items to help support Cos. But again, as we get to the late game, you're going through a Rona with heavy melee. You've got a Lance who's got great peel. You've got the Celeste with all of her CC and the range disadvantage. You do feel that not a lot of this is going to be about what Daniel and Hammy provide to a team fight with their damage-orientated builds. It's all going to be about Cos. Cos is going to be that carry that TSM need to make work here in these team fights.
I feel like, well, I totally agree with you on that. I feel like them having a bit of damage, though, and I do like them getting it early here, it means that you can't completely forget about them, right? Which is going to kind of give that opening, potentially, for Cos to get in, and if they're slightly distracted, suddenly, now Baron's onto a key target, and he can start to blow people up. It feels like he's going to definitely need a breaking point at some point.
Yeah, no, or just the full crit build. The full crit build still works really well. And against, if you look if you were looking at this team from Tribe, who do you actually want to kill on a team like Humanist? You want to kill, like, specifically Old School and probably I Love Joseph as well. And then Zio is going to be like a target that's like kind of like 1.5 in terms of where you're planning to focus your attention. You know that Joseph and Old School aren't going to. Sorry.
I just don't see them getting there onto the Celeste or onto the same.
Yeah. But then look at the amount of repositioning tools and lockdown you've got Tony Ultimate, you've got the Arden Ultimate, you've got the Lyra Portal, you've got the ability to silence up with the Catherine. There is so much that you would need to Crucible here, and Gabe is not going to be enough Crucibles to make that happen. So there are lots of ways, if you play the team fight properly from TSM, that you should be able to get onto that member that you want to try and blow up. My problem is that I just feel that the front line, who's supposed to be the tanky front line, if TSM aren't careful, they're not tanky enough right now. So if they keep taking team fights, especially when you get to 2 to 3 item spikes for the Celeste and Samuel, you might actually end up just getting shredded before you can actually protect Cos at all.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the play. Both sides want to stack up a little damage before they commit into the fight, and it's starting to stack up here. Don't doubt that Crucible coming out. That's going to be a blocked off blast trimmer right there. As both teams kind of bide their time resetting. Zio drops into the jungle. He'll get his weapon buff, and I'm not sure what the move is for TSM.
Just buy more time, mate. Like, obviously the scaling of the Celeste is always going to be something to worry about, but when you've got a weapon power Baron, you commit yourself to farming. You commit yourself to getting him to 4 items at the very least, because that is where Baron becomes powerful. So you actually made a really nice point earlier, Humanist, where you talked about you like that some damage items are coming out early on the Arden and the Tony specifically. I actually completely agree. I think that by having that gives them earlier pressure on tier 1 turrets in lane. It allows them to be able to clear waves more effectively without having to rely on Cos rotating around the map 24/7, because that means they'll just lose so much lane pressure if they're relying on him specifically. So buying a couple of early damage items allows them to do what you can see Daniel doing right now, which is just clearing out that bot wave and doing it quickly enough so that they're able to respond to map pressure being generated by a multiple threat composition coming out from Tribe.
Now here's the thing, doesn't matter if Zio gets some breaking point stacks that will go the other way. Gauntlets down, TSM pull the trigger, Gabe Bizzle taking a lot of damage, Solar Storm comes through, but it's not too much. Gabe just picked up that fountain, he's gonna go ahead and blow it right here. Not too many breaking point stacks out for Zio. Gabe on the front side, he'll go down. Blast Trimmer connects on through. Can they follow up on that? Oh, there's the portal for it. That's what we're talking about. You called it out before. Scoundrel saw it on paper as he looked into his crystal ball. It's a bloodbath here. Joseph's gonna find another one. Hammy, you're in a bad place. Max Green, go get him, boy. You got this, bud, right? Yeah, that's gonna be.
Oh, Hammy picks one up, mate.
Samuel Jackson coming on through. He'll take that one. It is an absolute disaster. What a scout cam. Max Green, what a player. Almost like a former captain mentality inside this guy, a legend. A block comes out from Hammy. He's about to get a double kill. A healing flask, a self Vanguard. Going through, cue the Benny Hill theme song. You can't stop this guy. The new meta has been created here.
That is exactly what I was talking about, Humus. In terms of execution from TSM, now I have to imagine that wasn't under a turret when they made that happen. It was a really good way of just negotiating round games. Crucible, like you said, you burnt one Crucible there. And then you have so many other tools to lock down those carries. You can dive in, you've got lots of damage coming out from the Tony and the Arden. I mean, this is a breaking point coming out from Hammy now. Maybe he is just going full weapon power Arden. Maybe Tasty Bacon is on the desk right now, having the time of his life.
He's on the floor right now.
Because he's seeing a full weapon
right
power
now.
Arden coming out right now.
Oh
Wow.
my goodness. It's a thing of beauty. Now, I can't say I've never run this one before because I've definitely tried it. The thing is, he just has to stick on to targets. If it's a clumped up team fight and people aren't just straight up running away, he can get a lot of work done. Blast Tremor blocked off there. Tribe still feeling healthy here in this mid lane. They'll start to kind of converge and apply a bit of pressure. Daniel's still down in bottom. Tribe do have the advantage here in towards mid. Zeo moves over. He's going to grab a weapon infusion. In fact, I think a couple just got picked up there. Both of these teams totally ready to fight.
I think with Tribe, now you've got the Spellfire coming out that's going to make it harder for that front line to sustain up, especially with the Lyra, because obviously she's providing a lot of sustain to that front line. Specifically, when the Clockwork comes out for Old School, that's where you're going to want to use your range advantage from Joseph and Old School to just try and stop that fight from getting close enough. Remember, TSM, apart from the Baron, are a serious range disadvantage compared to Tribe. They have got they've only got one member that's going to be on an equal level in terms of range to anything that the Tribe roster is bringing to the table. So what Tribe need to do is just, if they get to a team fight situation, they just need to have Old School and Joseph spam their abilities to try and keep that front line as low as possible to prevent them from finding those key engages, to prevent them from burning an easy Crucible from Gabe and then looking for a gauntlet opportunity. That's really what I would be doing as Tribe right now.
I mean, the way you describe it makes a lot of sense. Do you think it would make sense to get into a Frostburn even? I don't know if the value's there right now.
You're reading my mind, but we have a little team fight and they are just trying to back off here.
Yeah, they're portal in here. TSM, can you do it? They're gonna get onto School. School turns it around now. It's Daniel to go down first. How did he stay alive? Gabe Fizzle keeping his teammates healthy as can be. Oh my goodness, who needs a doctor when you got Gabe on your team? Old School almost goes down, but he turns it around. They stay alive on a sliver of health. It's like this guy has like an anti-death cheat code activated right now. Unbelievable that only one person goes down in that team fight. That was awesome.
I have no idea. I think they had to barrel Cos through that portal because they knew if everybody else went through, he would be isolated. But TSM played right into the jaws of the shark and somehow came away with just a scratch. That was a really nice team fight setup for Tribe because they were able to just pace it backwards. Old School somehow survives, like you said. TSM, I think, maybe pulled the trigger a bit too early there. They didn't actually do any of the pre-work that they were doing in the previous engages, like using the Catherine ultimate to bait out the Crucible, waiting for it to come off cooldown, using the Tony ultimate to try and break up the team fight, then using the Gauntlet. Because the perfect situation is you burn the Crucible, you then use the Tony ultimate to split up the team fight, use the Arden Gauntlet to separate them and keep them separated, and then try and pick off, individual key members. That, for me, would be the perfect situation for TSM, although Tribe, they're going for that mid lane tier 1.
Gotta do your prep work, man. You can't get in there and just be expecting to take team fights like that. From the very beginning, we talked about it. It's like whoever's gonna start to build up some stacks first is gonna have a better time in these fights. I think you see the Vox and the Baron both playing it the same way. You have people that will be on the front side, get some of that damage ramped up, and then pull the trigger and get into it. But right now, I don't know if they can make that happen clean every time.
I do need to highlight that Cos is actually really not that far ahead in farm, personally. He's only got 51 at this point in time. He's at 2.5 items. Hammy has got almost 100. Daniel has got 68. It doesn't really feel like the farm is being prioritized.
I literally looked at Hammy's items and thought I was looking at Baron's for a second there. So yeah, that was a bad point on my end.
Cos is really far behind in terms of his own farm right now. And for someone that's going to scale up so well, that's maybe a little bit of a worry. What TSM are doing now, though, is they are sending Hammy to the top side of the map. Now, he's got heavy sustain, he's got ramp up, he's got great dueling potential, and I think Tribe have sent the right person to deal with him, that is Max Green. I don't feel that Hammy's going to be able to deal 1v1 with the Rona. And speaking of Max Green, second Crucible coming out from him, Humanist.
Of course, and it's the perfect hero to be picking it up now. Tribe, they see an opening. It's Hammy who they want to go for. That's the target. Hammy, a defensive gauntlet, but it's blocked off as they chase on forward. Hammy over the wall. Can they get away now? Suddenly it feels a little bit sloppy, so they have to jump back. The Baron's gone down, but Old School leaves himself in a vulnerable position. They're able to collapse on down. Hammy's down, Cause is down, School and Joseph have dropped the 3v3, but who can get who? A nice little trash talk right in the middle of a fight. Have some manners, Daniel. Max Green starts to spin here. This is the real threat that you talked about. 23 breaking point stacks, but he's gonna go ahead and pull off of this one. The disengage call has been made. Gabe's gonna go ahead and back out, and why so much fear, Scoundrel?
Do you know what? Tribe felt that they'd caught out Hammy there, but Hammy managed to actually make it so that Daniel and Tivo found a way into the back line. You've got heavy burst with the Aftershock Storm Crown on Catherine. If you hit someone with a stun, you're actually going to burst them for quite a significant portion of HP. And then with Hammy and Daniel being right there in the back line, although Baron got taken very low, the way that the team fight is set up completely exposed Zio, Old School, and Joseph to a melee range threat, which just shouldn't be happening. Like, you shouldn't be letting them getting anywhere close without them actually forcing the situation to those particular carries. That was basically Tribe giving TSM the keys to the fight, because they chased so far and they split their one peeling member, Gabe, round the other side of that wall, and he was nowhere there to protect his members of his team because he couldn't roll over the way that Hammy jumped over with his Vanguard.
Yeah, I think honestly that's probably the biggest disruptor through that fight there that the Tribe weren't able to really predict. They saw that opening and they thought they could get the kill. Honestly, I thought they might be able to chase him down, but getting over the wall, that was really a huge key to winning that fight. Impressive stuff, though. This game is back and forth. Overall net worth very even. We're 18.5 minutes in, tied up 8-8 overall on the kills. Little contest for the Crystal Tree. It's going to come out here. It's not going to be a problem. Tivo able to grab that one off. And where do you think we might see the next engagement out on this map?
Well, obviously Black Claw is now on the map, so he's someone that you're always going to have to respect. There's a lot of turret taking potential. If TSM get a convincing fight and get Black Claw, they can probably shove down and get the win straight away. But obviously, with the burst potential coming out and the range potential, TSM could probably never start Black Claw themselves without an advantage on the map, because you're going up against a Celeste and a Samuel who will punish you in that Dragon Pit if you aren't careful and if you aren't setting up for a fight immediately if they get into range. So TSM have probably got decisions to make here. I would just maintain vision, try and get a pick, and then use that to snowball. If I was Tribe, I would be looking at this as an opportunity, saying, well, let's try and bait TSM into a situation where we can utilize our range advantage. They're all going to be grouped up and make it easy for us to hit big Malice and Verdicts and big Heliogenesis.
I mean, I could see it happening either way. Now it's going to be another aggressive arcane passage. Who's the target? They start with Zio. School's able to get back. Tears right on through with the Solar Storm. Now, Zio, he's getting breaking point stacks. This is going great for Tribe. Well, it started great, but it's turned around. They can't lose Max that fast. Too quickly in the beginning of this fight. They lose the Rona and it gets turned. I mean, that felt like it was a turnaround from Tribe. I completely misread it.
No, honestly, Humans, I felt exactly the same way. I think that should have been a turnaround from Tribe. I felt that the Tribe range members were too reluctant to commit. The Rona was on top of 4 members of TSM, spinning her little heart out, and nobody from Tribe was willing to back her up. They were too scared of a potential engage, but honestly, TSM had used most of their gap closing abilities just to engage that fight, and realistically got absolutely zero from it. Although, what is going on here? Hammy!
Hammy! He's not going to tick down. He's an Arden! What a legend. What a heroic perk. An absolute monster here. That's going to be Ghostwing taken over here by TSM. Happy about it now. They'll go ahead and move down towards the bottom.
This isn't even to protect the COS composition. This is like completely different from her to protect the COS composition.
COS is the distraction.
Exactly. If anything, COS is having the least impact in these team fights. This is the Hammy show.
The distraction, dude. Bacon was like 3 years ahead of the meta.
It seems that way. This is the Hammy show right now. Oh my god.
Good night, Zio. Good night, Joseph. Good night, Tribe.
Good night, Mr.
Sorry, I've been reading a lot of bedtime stories here. That's going to be the first base turret going down, and bottom armory should be next on the menu. Old School. pulls the trigger on that Solar Storm. It's not going to really do too much. And, you know, Old School, he's got a couple items together here. It's not like he's just been crushed. He is at 1, 4, and 5, but he's at a point where it should feel like he's having an impact. They just aren't putting it together.
I think, you know, I want to relate this back to one of the points that you made earlier that I was about to touch on and a team fight broke out. I genuinely don't think Frostburn would have been a bad choice for Samuel or even Old School on Celeste. Against this much melee, you know, a Frostburn
There
might
you
have been able
go.
to...
Another Archibastard. They cancel the gauntlet, but they get the Celeste here. What an aggressive call. I'm loving this.
I mean, obviously Frostburn's not going to be good in that kind of situation because you're just dead, right?
No, I mean,
But
Frostburn will protect you from that.
I think what also, the way the TSM drafted this is there is actually nothing to protect the Celeste, the Samuel, or the Vox other than the Lance. So if you can stop Githian Wool from being super impactful, and maybe even Crucible it, or even if you do get Githian Wool, like it only buys a couple of, even half a second, if that. There are actually not many heroes that Tribe could have drafted to help protect their backline. So if you do portal into the backline, and then Daniel dives in, Hammy supports, you get the stun off from TiVo, the amount of pure CC and burst damage coming out from TSM specifically onto these squishy carries in the backline, it's almost impossible for Tribe to actually respond to that. Like they actually genuinely can't respond to that because they've only got the Oblivion, the Core Collapse, and the Githian Wall to actually provide hard CC. A lot of that can get blocked up by the individual reflex blocks and the obviously shaded talents Crucible, as long as it's timed at the right time.
Daniel's got Crucible too.
2 Crucibles now, like if you can block those key abilities, there's actually no way to prevent the Celeste from getting targeted, no way to prevent Joseph from getting targeted. And this is the way that TSM has been playing every single fight. You've seen it with their intent, with their portals every single time. They have a clear objective in mind. It is literally barrel everybody in, blow someone up.
And they've been doing so. Hey, a technical question. Well, we'll hold that thought here. There you go. They pull the trigger again. They get onto the key target. It's Zeo this time. Zeo taken down before he can even get some damage off. Blast Jammer is going to connect onto 2 or 3 there. Joseph forced back. Max Green trying to stay on the key targets. He can't do enough work. His team is too heavy, Scoundrel. And the Old School is going to get taken down by Weapon Arden potentially here. And I just say that so Bacon can hear it and bask in the delicious sounds of the Weapon Arden tearing on through Tribe. Gabe Fizzle's caught inside the gauntlet from the Weapon Arden as TSM run over Tribe, and a lot of questions have just been answered here. 19-9, 24 minutes in, as TSM just put the hurt on Tribe.
And I entered this game thinking that TSM were just trolling and having a bit of fun. I've exited this game thinking TSM are geniuses. Like with that specific draft, like you thought it was about Cos at the beginning, and then it sort of evolved into this very good composition at dealing specifically with the backline like Celeste. We know Old School loves his Celeste and Zeo's, Zeo's Vox. You dive them everybody in,